Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose with Metalholic Magazine and Metal Nation Radio, and of course joining us, it's nearly the witching hour, almost midnight over in Germany, and Alex Landenburg of 21Octyane is hanging out with us. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing good, Rustin. Thanks for having us. Really cool.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really digging the new album 2.0, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But let's start with 21Octyane became sort of a critical success last year, primarily in Germany and Europe, with your debut album Into the Open, but over here in North America, sort of heavy rock fans have yet to really get a chance to know what the band is about. Mm-hmm. We know you from your work in Mekong, Delta, and Rhapsody, but tell us about 21Octyane and how it sort of came together and what the goal is musically, because you guys cover a lot of ground.
Oh, yes, we do, and I think that's basically the whole purpose of the band for us, is to be able to play something completely different with this band, because we all, at least Mark and I, we come from this metal sort of background. We always played in these metal bands, and it's just great to be able to play now this in this open kind of rock band where we can do basically anything we like, right? Cover any genre almost, and it's a lot of fun. And the idea of the band goes back to actually 5 years back, 2010. That's when Marco and I started putting the band together, and from then, everything happened kind of quickly. We found Andrew for the bass guitar, and then Hagen as a singer, which of course was amazing to find somebody like Hagen, right?
Right.
We've been looking right and left, and we were ready to really look for a singer outside of Germany, because we didn't believe we would find somebody like this in Germany. And then there was Hagen right next door, basically. It's funny. So that's how it came together. And we just started jamming, and it felt good, and we knew, okay, this is something that we should keep doing.
And the first album, Into the Open, was, like I said, it was a big success, especially over in Europe. And it was one of the year's, best new albums in a lot of categories at the end of the year. Those lists were coming out. And then you're back already, not just a little over a year later, with 2.0. So tell us a little bit about 2.0. Sort of tell us about it from your perspective.
Yeah, well, the idea was that I remember talking about the next record at that time with on the phone with Mark, and we said something like the next record, it should be something like Into the Open 2.0, meaning like it should be an update to it,
right?
Like even whatever, like the progressive parts even more progressive, the mainstream parts even more mainstream, like everything sort of bigger in a way. And then that was the idea behind it. And to me personally, it was very important that we would not repeat anything of Into the Open. Like no song would sound similar to anything we had done before. Like I also made sure the tempos were different, the whole structures of the songs were different, so that basically we could play any song from the first record and any song from the second record in a live setting, also in any order. And that was my goal with it, and I hope we achieved it. I think we did.
So, yeah, it's sort of like a continuation of what you did with Into the Open, yet it's still a progression and evolution from it.
Absolutely. That's what we were looking for. Exactly.
So when you went into the studio, did you try anything new on this one in terms of style or production techniques, even using different equipment to sort of achieve your goals? Or
that's a great question. Actually, not so much in that direction, because it was pretty clear the way we would do it was pretty clear, because the way we write as a band, it's really organic. Like I said, we just get together in a room, we start playing, whatever comes out and what sounds good, we're going to keep on working on. And so even before we started recording, we had everything demoed basically to the details. So there was nothing uncertain about the recordings anymore. So, and also we didn't try too much new stuff on this one, I would say. Not in that sense, in this production kind of sense. Musically, for sure, we tried to do different things. We tried to take it a little more even in a fusion type of way, I could say. If you think about that long song we have, Tale of a Broken Child.
Right, I was going to ask you about that in a minute, but since you brought it up, let's talk about it now. Because you go through this whole album, and there's these great AOR bits, some heavy rock, even a little bit of a tint of metal here and there, some progressive rock sort of stuff. Then you get down to this last song, and it's like this kitchen sink. There's some jazzy moments, progression, rock. Tell us about that song and what it's all about.
Yeah, well, it was a dream to us to be able to put together a real progressive tune, like also in a classic sense, like a long song, like longer than 8 or 9 minutes or even 10 minutes. But we weren't sure whether we would do it on this one or maybe on the next record. And then it just happened that we had a song that was kind of long already, 5-6 minutes maybe, the basic structure.
Right.
And Marco was toying around with this ballad type of thing. It was sort of an intro he was playing. And I just said, hey, how about we put those two things together? And it just fit perfectly musically. So and we just extended the solo section a little bit, gave everyone a solo spot. And exactly, we thought, okay, let's try to go a little jazzy here, do something more, even whatever. It's almost like an El Di Meola thing or something. It's very different, I guess. And it just worked out fine. We had this 10-minute piece suddenly. Hagen came up with the lyrics for it and the melodies, and boom, there it was. It came very naturally. So and I think that's the secret is that to something like this is that you have it shouldn't sound like 10 minutes, or it shouldn't be boring, in the first place. I think this really feels like it's one song. It's not like it doesn't sound pieced together. At least that's what I hope, And I'm very happy with it. I'm really glad we did it, and people love it. We're getting only great comments about that one. Everybody loves it. It's really cool.
Now, and I don't know if I'm asking you to speak for Hagen here, but you may know the story anyway, because it's called Tale of a Broken Child, and this long wandering piece that's sort of telling a story musically too. Did you guys sort of build it that way together, or did the lyrics just totally come later as an afterthought, or did you have some story in mind, some frame of reference for this when you were putting it together? Because it's a very cinematic piece too.
Yeah, it is totally. But actually, on this one, as on all the other songs, the music came first, and Hagen was putting the lyrics together afterwards, and he just made them fit to the song. Whatever pictures the song was triggering in his head is what he put to the paper. But definitely the music came first, and I think he did a great job at putting the story together, and they both go really well together. They go in one direction. It's really cool.
They do. It's almost like the reverse of somebody writing a score for a screenplay. He's like writing the screenplay for the score,
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, but it totally worked that way. So that's cool.
And when I first put the album on and I heard the opening riffs and everything, my first thought was, holy crap, if Phil Mogg were singing this would be a UFO album. That Devil in Disguise immediately recalled Michael Schenker for me. Is it safe to say Marco's a fan of his style?
Oh, you know what? I don't think. I think every and any guitarist is a fan of that guy. I mean, I don't think you could find any serious guitarist that doesn't like Schenker. I think he's been a huge influence,
especially in Germany, right?
Yeah, especially in Germany, of course. We're mighty proud of him, and he's just incredible. And he's actually really, really doing well again. He had a couple of maybe, how should I put it, maybe difficult years, but the guy's totally back right now. It's fantastic what he does right. So it's really cool,
Yeah, when I was listening to Devil in Disguise, I'm sort of like, this has the same sort of groove that this could have easily have gone on Schenker's new album that he's doing with Doogie. And I'm like, it's so cool to have that sound back, too, because we lost that for so many years in songwriting.
Another thing I think that's really important and that's missing these days a lot is it's the simple fact that we didn't Pro Tool the whole thing. We didn't quantize anything. There was no time stretching or whatever, and no melodyne happening, nothing. So it's really, we played it and we kind of left it that way. Of course, here and there you might just correct a little note, but that's been done also in the 70s and 80s, just that the guys were cutting the tape,
Right. Well, that's one of the things that I liked about how you guys are doing this. You guys, no click tracks, none of that stuff. You guys are keeping it very organic, which is the way rock and roll's meant to be played.
Exactly. Totally. I agree 100%. I think that's the secret there, if you want to call it that, because if, that's what it's all about. If you quantize rock and roll, I mean, it doesn't make sense, and you got to have that freedom. I mean, just imagine whatever the first Van Halen records, and imagine them produced like bands produce these days, with a drum machine and everything quantized and whatever, David Lee Roth melodynes and stuff. You can't do that,
Yeah, it just the magic out.
Completely and totally. You know, it's a little bit like with movies too. Like when you have modern movies and they're all CGI and they're all made in the computer, and they never look as good as the original Star Wars movies, you know?
Right.
So I think the technology is not bad, but the way people use it, they overuse it. And that's the problem. And I understand it because it's perfectionism, you know, and we all suffer from it. But you gotta leave that out for a moment, you know, you gotta leave it behind and just play your stuff as good as you can, and then that's what you got. I think it's a big thing about the record too. And it's something people they don't realize it, or they can't analyze it, but they sort of realize it. I should put it that way, you know?
Yeah, it's losing the human element a little bit when you just try and refine everything and produce it to death with all the technology we have. But speaking of movies, nice segue. Your first video, which is, you know, this nice melodic rock ballad almost, When You Go, is sort of a little mini movie in and of itself. And of course, I'm watching it. I'm so old now. It's like watching my grandkids in this video, and it's like, oh, you know. Tell us a little bit about the video and how that came together, because it's a fun little piece.
Yeah, I think it was. Well, thanks first of all. We love it too, and the kids, they're just fantastic. You know, the kids playing in it. I love it. I think it was our manager Robert who came up with the idea, and to have this little movie thing going on, like, you know, in a way like Aerosmith did in the early '90s with the Get a Grip album, when they put out these wonderful mini movies that they did. You know,
right?
Of course, we don't have that kind of budget, you know, but still, it's something you can aim for, you know, a little bit. But we want to put a different spin on it, so we thought, how about just putting the kids in the place of the grown-ups, and, you know, have this little sort of, you know, innocent, but this little love story with the kids happening there. And so I think it's very cute, and it's just something different, you know. You got to try something different these days because the internet is full of stuff, YouTube is full of things, and to stand out a little bit, you got to have something more than, you know, two guys holding guitars and one guy hitting drums, you know, right. I guess.
Well, it's a poignant and emotive sort of song anyway, so it lends itself well to that story sort of thing. So
exactly, of course.
As a drummer, obviously you can't wait to play this stuff live. Is there a particular track on the new album that you're just looking forward to getting on stage and hammering out?
Well, totally. Well, we actually did play a couple shows already for the new record, and obviously what we just talked about, the long one, Tale of Broken Shot, is just a lot of fun to play. And it's very challenging and fun in a way, but almost all of them are great to play because they all have different aspects. Also, Devil in Disguise, you know, it's just the energy. You know, you have to put a lot of energy in that, and it's just fun to play that one.
Well,
but whatever, Date with Myself, the 12/8 thing, you know, the blues type of thing that we're doing there, also something different that I usually don't do when I'm playing with Rhapsody or whatever. I don't play that kind of, or I can't play that kind of grooves, you know, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, that sort of segues into another subject, especially I'm stunned that you're actually playing that big long piece with all of its elements live. That's fantastic. And I don't want to rub a raw subject here or anything, but Andrew Lauer was with the band when it began, recorded both the albums. He's departed. Given his performance and what he brought in terms of groove and stuff to the first two records, it seems disingenuous to believe his departure won't have an impact on your music moving forward, because he was elemental in creating it. And I can't imagine who's playing that live, that long 10-minute piece, you know, the stuff he did. How are you guys sort of moving forward from that right now?
Yeah, of course, it's sort of a difficult situation in a way, but we have two friends of ours that are just helping out, and indeed, for example, that part in particular was giving them headaches. So yeah, of course, Andrew is playing a fantastic bass. He's probably one of the best bass players at all. I mean, he's really incredible. But fortunately, there is some real talent. We have had incredible applications for the job. People were sending us videos, and so we'll try out a couple, you know, bass players in the next few shows, just to see who really fits with the band, and we'll see where we go from here. I can also imagine that for the third record, we're actually already it's no joke. Next week we'll start songwriting for the third record. This is how crazy we are right now. But you got to keep moving. We want to keep that pace of releasing stuff. So I can imagine for the third record we also might have a couple guests or something. We'll see.
I was going to say that's sort of where I was heading. Is we're talking about the second album right now, and that's really what matters. But I'm thinking because he didn't just play bass well. He contributed in terms of ideas for the songwriting, and he had his own elements he brought in. So
Totally.
What's going to change with album number 3? Because his departure leaves a hole there. What's going to fill that hole in terms of style and sound? So it'll be interesting to see how album number 3 turns out, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally. I think by the very nature of it, it's going to be different for that reason already, But of course, it's up to us now to find somebody who can bring in something different, something equally interesting. Because you don't want to have a copy, and you can't have a copy, honestly. I mean, it would be pointless now to go out and try to find that sort of bass player. That's something I don't like. Usually nobody likes it when bands are going through changes like that, but it does happen sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
For this, as you guessed, and you guessed correctly, it was for personal reasons, to be honest, because musically, the guy is just incredible. There's no musical reason, I mean, sometimes there are musical reasons, even if people are playing great, like that people really want to go into different directions and stuff. But it was really just a personal thing. A band is also like a family, or even worse, like a relationship between 4 people or 5 people sometimes. So sometimes, too many little things, they just, become one big thing in the end, and you just cannot work together anymore.
Damn it, stop leaving the toilet seat up. All right. So, all right, so a couple more questions.
How did you know that? No.
A couple more questions before we get out of here. And this one, if this one's too sensitive to answer, you certainly don't have to. But I noticed the album's dedicated to Cordula Abston. Is there a story there that you can share, or is that too personal to talk about?
No, it's not too personal. It is very personal, but that's we made the dedication to her because we wanted her to be remembered. That's a dear friend of ours, and she died earlier this year of cancer at a very young age, 30. I believe she only reached 37 years, even 36. Anyways, way too young, and she was a dear friend of basically all of ours, and it came as a surprise to us, and we felt it was a natural thing to do, to dedicate the record to her. I know she would have loved to hear it, and that's at least we could do that. Just to help others to remember her. That's all.
It adds when I read that, it added an extra something to listening to When You Go and Lost, because it made me wonder. Here both these songs are about losing somebody you care about in a sense. So, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, of course, that's when you write stuff. Even if it's fictional, there's always your personal experience that goes into it. I don't think you can totally get away from that. So, obviously, of course,
All right, so you are a busy man, my friend. Not only are you manning the kit for 21Octyane, you also backstop Mekong, Delta, and Rhapsody. How do you juggle all that? Because, I mean, that's 4 studio albums in 2 years.
Yeah, that's crazy in a way. So far, it kind of worked out. The good thing is if you work on that level, nobody's going to come and say, hey, we have a show tomorrow. There's always a couple of weeks or month in advance that things are being planned. So far, I was able to juggle it in a positive way, and I just hope it can continue like this. And the bands have been incredibly supportive also because they want me to play with them, so they also try to help to don't mix up the dates and stuff. And to me personally, it's just it's just a luxury to be able to play with these different bands, this different kind of music, because even if our band is as diverse, 21Octyane, as it is, still you can't cover everything, right? There's only so much you can cover with one band. And then to be able to play with Rhapsody, this sort of symphonic power metal sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And it's also a very different approach that we have there, because there everything is on the click track. Everything has to be perfect. But because it's not the only thing I'm doing, I can enjoy it, because I have to, I have my free time from it, when I'm playing with other bands. So diversity is the key here. And make Delta, of course, completely crazy progressive stuff,
Right, and that's the thing I was going to say. As a musician, if you love music, you love more than just one particular insular genre. There's always different things that you're into. So you got sort of that the little thrashy progressiveness. You got the symphonic, the big over the top stuff, and then you've got just classic melodic hard rock AOR with some progressive tint to it. So you're all over the place musically too. So it's exciting to hear. So.
Yeah, totally. I'm kind of missing a jazz trio or something, and then I would be really all over the place. That's something I love to play. I grew up playing in the big band of our school, and it was big band jazz. So I always loved that too. But yeah, so I think so too. It should be important to a musician. I mean, of course, I think there's two types of musicians: people who are like that, or people who are the AC/DC type of musician. That just they do their thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but for me, it wouldn't work. I would be incredibly bored, I tell you, if they were younger, I was older, whatever, I would have had the chance to audition for AC/DC. I would have probably not made the gig, because I could not limit myself to playing like this, It's also something you have to be able to do. It's an ability as well, but it's not for me.
Well, and the more expressive you are with your musicality, with your instrument, in this case the drums and everything, the more you put into these different projects, you take something away from each of those that you learn, that you somehow bring to the other bands in a way that you might have not have thought of before.
That's a very good point. Exactly. They kind of influence each other, and subconsciously, Right. Of course. But it's there, definitely. Yeah, of course. You grow as a whole. As a musician, it's very cool.
Well, last question. It's almost midnight here. We'll get you off the horn.
No worries. No worries, man. Of course, but whatever. Yeah, if it's just one more,
it's
whatever.
It's almost the end of the year. Are there any? And it's been a big year this year and last year. Huge years for hard rock and heavy metal and stuff like that. Are there any new albums, even if it's outside those genres, that have come out this year that have really impressed you?
I was totally impressed. And positively impressed by, I would say, by Symphony X, the new Symphony X record.
Nice.
It's basically my favorite band, of all genres. And but I'm a longtime fan of them. So the last couple of records, they were a little bit too one-dimensional for me. And the new one, I don't know if you heard it. I just love it. I was crazy about it. I was playing it for weeks in the car and nothing else. I love it. The new Wasp is incredible. I just heard it the other day, and I was really, really impressed because that's a band that's been around for a long time, Absolutely. And it sounds so fresh. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I heard that. As a matter of fact, I had an opportunity also to talk to Michael Romeo about the new Symphony X as well.
All right, awesome.
So the new Symphony X, the new Wasp. Anything else?
That will be the two big ones for me this year. I mean, obviously Maiden was also kind of impressive, but to be honest, I didn't take the time yet to really listen to it. But what I heard, there was a lot of passion behind it, but I couldn't say I really listened to it as a whole. So I would leave it to those two for now,
Well, there's so much to that new Maiden, you really just have to take a lot of time to absorb it because it's a 90-minute album to begin with. So, yes, all right. Alex, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us tonight. I'm really enjoying the new 21Octyane album. And, of course, I love the new Rhapsody album earlier in the year, too. So thank you for giving us so much great music, especially over just the last 2 years with those 4 albums. But here's hoping the 2.0 really opens some eyes over here on this side of the pond as well this year.
Oh, man, thank you so much. That's what we hope, too. That would be really fantastic. We can't wait to play the States, really.
It'd be wonderful to get you over here. I know it's so difficult for European bands now. The United States makes it so hard and expensive for you guys to get over here. And then touring here is just so difficult because the European music scene has really stayed on top of helping keep heavy metal and hard rock and that sort of music thrive. Where over here in the States, it's fallen to some degree by the wayside, and it's harder for bands to tour over here, and it's really sort of tragic for us.
It is in a way, but I must say the dedicated fans, they're really fantastic. You know, the fans that the music has, they're really awesome. I get so much incredible and positive feedback from the States. It's wonderful. So I hope things will get better there as well. We just have to try to bring the music over there.
Alex, again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and we will chat soon, I hope.
Absolutely, Rustin. Anytime. Thank you for having us, and